Libraries North Conference. Before we get started, I'm just going to run through some of the housekeeping that you might be quite familiar with already, but it is always worth repeating. We've got a chat and a Q&A going on. Please keep the chat for any discussions that you might have, and the Q&A function for questions that you want to pose to our presenters after they've finished speaking. If you cannot access the Q&A, which has happened to some people, please just pop your question into the chat, but mark it as a question really clearly. The whole of the session is being recorded. If you want to turn on captions, you can do that by clicking the three dots at the top, click on settings, then accessibility, and then you can toggle onto the always show captions in my meeting option. We ask all delegates to abide by the code of conduct, which can be accessed via the delegate brochure and the ALN website. We want ALN to be enjoyable for everyone. So if you do see anything inappropriate or unhappy with, please do drop us an email. So now I'm going to hand over to Toby Andrews from De Gruyter, who is going to talk to us first of all.
That's great. Thanks, Zelda. That's brilliant. I hope you've all had a wonderful lunch. Lunch always passes far too quickly, doesn't it? Anyway, I'm Toby Andrews. I'm the sales manager for the UK and Ireland at De Gruyter, and it's great to be here at the Academic Libraries North Conference 2023 today. I'm going to provide a very kind of quick overview of De Gruyter in this presentation, and there should also be a bit of time for questions and hopefully some answers as well at the end of the session. So firstly, by the numbers, De Gruyter, we are an independent scholarly publisher. We've been in business for a long time, since 1749, that's 270 odd years. We publish books, ebooks, journals, databases, archives, and other scholarly content. We're headquartered in Berlin, and we also have offices in Boston, Beijing, Vienna, Warsaw, Munich. And we publish around 1,500 new ebook titles every year. We have 330 subscription and hybrid journals, as well as 100 open access journals in the humanities, social sciences, and STEM areas. Obviously, STEM for us would be medicine, mathematics, engineering, computer science, natural sciences, and law. We have an ebook archive that includes 50,000 titles. We publish around 70 databases and reference works, largely in the humanities. And in addition to our own content, we also host ebooks on behalf of 30 or so publishing partners, including 20 US and European university presses. We offer 3,000 frontlist publisher partner titles every year on the platform, and the total number of ebooks on the platform currently is 160,000. Of those, 148,000 are available within our evidence-based acquisition, our EBA models. Okay, I want to very quickly kind of mention our corporate strategy. We have three pillars here, as you can see: author focus, digital transformation, and people and sustainability. I'm going to focus on the last one, the people and sustainability. We're basically adding sustainable development to our company goals, so that our company goal becomes to maintain independence through profit, growth, and sustainable development. We basically want to reflect the increasing importance of sustainability for De Gruyter, and it's something that we will be focusing on in a lot more detail in the future. We are also putting together a corporate carbon footprint measurement. So I think we are looking at our company's footprint, both how we get to the office and also how we produce our books and so forth. And that will be something that we will continue to develop as time goes by. Okay, I'm going to talk about ebooks for a little bit, and this is within the context of EBA, or evidence-based acquisition. We have a lot of content in our EBA, our evidence-based acquisition, and I'm looking at the complete EBA today to show you a kind of an idea of what's actually included. So firstly, and no surprises, we have our De Gruyter content, and this includes a total of around 63,000 ebooks across the humanities, the social sciences, and STEM category areas. We also have a number of American university presses. You can see here that we have Harvard, we have University of California Press, University of Texas, Duke University, etc. And this covers about 60,000 ebook titles across those 15 American university presses. We also have UK and European publisher partners. We have 10 of those. with approximately 20,000 titles in our EBA. It's worth mentioning that some of the content is hosted on other platforms too. Fourthly, we also have some US-based publishers, not to be confused with our university presses. They are the US-based publishers. And we have 4 partnership agreements in place, and this includes around about 5,000 titles. What is really key is that basically 37% of the partner content in our EBA is not available within any other EBA program. So you can only get that content from De Gruyter. It's also worth mentioning that everything in our EBAs is also available in other ebook packages, such as pick and choose, subject collections, copyright years, and so forth. Overall, the De Gruyter program and our partner publisher program covers in the region of 30 subject areas across the STEM, humanities, and social sciences area. Okay, this is probably self-explanatory for all the librarians in the room, so apologies in advance. But our EBA offer is available on the subscription manager on JISC's website. We have an agreement currently in place until popular. There has more information about our licenses, our terms and conditions, and so forth. Some kind of key points I just want to quickly mention is that we charge EBA on JISC banding. The ebooks are DRM free. We provide monthly MARC records, and basically as new titles are published, those are added to your packages. We provide automated enhanced usage reports, and basically after the 12-month period of your EBA, you select titles to the value of the EBA that you've paid already. The EBA credit spend is processed, and you then have perpetual access to the titles that you've selected for purchase. Again, if you have any questions, please have a look at the JISC subscription license manager page, or indeed contact me, and I have my contact details at the end of this presentation. Just wanted to kind of quickly talk about some of the areas within STM that we have books and ebooks within. So we publish basically textbooks, advanced textbooks, professional textbooks, as well as monographs and reference works across a wide range of STM subject areas. We have around about 400 ebooks across STM. And as you can see here, we have them across green processes, polymers, nanotechnology, energy, mathematics. I'm guessing that artificial intelligence is going to be of significant interest at the moment. And I'm actually looking forward to the panel discussion later on this afternoon regarding AI in academic libraries. So that should be really interesting. Be interesting to see how that all kind of ties in together. Just want to quickly mention in terms of our STM portfolio, we are jointly establishing content focusing on STEM in the Global South. This is kind of going to be covering journal and our book series, and we have a number of associated webinars. Again, if people would like more information about those webinars, please do reach out to me and I'll let you know when the next ones will be provided, will be hosted. Okay, I'm now going to have a slight difference. We've talked about ebooks and EBA. I'm now going to talk about some of our journals and our humanities journals. This will be quite brief because I know that time is against us. So De Gruyter, with 270 years of experience, we are one of the leading humanities publishers in Europe, and we serve an ever-increasing, ever-growing academic community worldwide. Our humanities journals represent approximately 2/3 of our journal content, and we are a leading publisher in history, linguistics, classical studies, and so forth. A very quick slide here about some of our more recent developments. We are obviously always wanting to make sure that our journals and our articles are up to the minute and cover kind of the latest subject areas. So this is a quick screenshot of some of our more recent offerings. And again, these presentation slides will be made available at some point later on. So feel free to have a look at this in more detail. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about the breakdown of our journal portfolio. We have around 415 plus journals in total. Approximately 2/3 of titles are in humanities and social sciences, with the remaining third in the STEM area. Approximately 75% of humanities and social sciences are in our subscription portfolios. We do have 100 plus gold open access journals. Again, 70% of those, or roughly 70%, are within the APC model, almost exclusively within the STEM area. If we look at the chart also on the left, that shows the kind of the distribution split between APC, sponsored, subscribe to open, hybrid, and read only. Okay, so our path to open access by 2027, 2028. Our first transformational agreement was back in 2018, 2019. We had a very successful expansion, especially in Europe, but increasingly in North America and Asia. And we have institutional open access agreements in 24 countries with about 700 participating institutions. 950 plus articles have been published in 2022 with transformational agreements. That's approximately 8% of our total output in subscription portfolio. You'll notice here that we have two different routes from our subscription portfolio to the majority of our portfolio being open access by 27, 28. The first one, subscribe to open. This is mainly journals in the non-APC subjects, so this will be largely kind of humanities and social sciences areas. The one at the kind of the bottom of the screen where it says suitable STEM titles, that will cover, as I say, the kind of the STEM areas, the kind of the maths, the medicine, engineering, and so forth, where there's often a bit more money available for funding of APCs. As I mentioned, we're hoping that the majority of our portfolio will be open access by 27, 2028. Here are the expectations with the number of journals which will be transformed to open access over the next few years. You can see that in 2024, we have 8 subscription journals that will move to open access. So 1 will be APC, 2 will be on the sponsored route, and 5 will be on the subscribe to open route. And as you can see from our chart, our graph, we're hoping the numbers will go up and up like that to 27, 28. Actually, it's really important to note as well that we have a new, this is year 3 of our current JISC Read and Publish deal. We are currently negotiating a new all-inclusive model with JISC for 2024 and 2025. I will obviously be in contact with you about that once the agreements have been completed. And of course, if you have any questions before that, please do reach out to me. Finally, the penultimate slide, I want to have a very quick chat about our De Gruyter conversations. This is a blog that provides content based on academic research in an easy to understand format. The articles cover current subjects across various fields to deepen the reader's understanding of a particular topic. These pieces draw influence from the numerous academic books and journal articles that we publish, with writers from De Gruyter's conversations penning content that readers can access online for free. Okay, well, that's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Obviously, we hope that you're enjoying the kind of the online conference. I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow in person in Leeds. If you have any questions, please contact me. My email address is toby.andrews@degruyter.com, or please, find me tomorrow. I will normally be found loitering near the kind of the coffee and cake areas. That's normally where I tend to spend most of my time. So please just look out for me there, and I'd be happy to have a reach out and have a conversation with you. Okay, thanks again.
Thank you very much, Toby. That was a really great introduction into what De Gruyter has to offer. We have got one question in the Q&A, but we are super tight for time. So it's a question about whether or not your EBA material is less Eurocentric than most EBAs, and is the work you mentioned to involve more global South content going to be included in the EBA material. I'm going to suggest that the question is answered tomorrow, if that's okay, Toby.
I can give a very, very quick response.
Would you
yes,
like to?
I mean,
just
I think yes, we do cover a lot of content within Europe. I mean, we are a German-based publisher, so there will be a lot of kind of Euro-focused areas. We have a lot of content that covers some of the US as well. But yes, you're right, Zelda. Let's cover that in a bit more detail. I can get some stats to actually provide for that person that asked the question tomorrow to show the geographic splits with our content, both ebooks and journals.
That's fantastic. It's also whether or not it will be clearly flagged as well in the collections is of interest. So that would be great. Yep. Thank you very much, Toby, for coming along today. And now I'm going to hand over to Catherine and Natasha, who are from AM, one of our other silver sponsors. and who are going to talk to us next today. So over to you two.
Great, thanks very much. Hi everybody, I hope you can hear me and see the slides. Thanks very much for coming along to this presentation, and thanks also to the ALN organisers for this opportunity. We're really pleased to be one of the sponsors this week and to be able to share some details of AM with you this afternoon. I'll start with just a brief introduction and an overview of what we'll be talking about today. So my name is Catherine and I'm joined here by my colleague Natasha. We're both part of the international sales team here at AM and look after universities across the UK and Europe. And we'll also both be in Leeds tomorrow, so hopefully we'll have the opportunity to speak with lots of you in person then. So quick run through of what we'll be looking at today. I will just give a short overview of AM for those of you less familiar with us, also because we've had a little bit of a rebrand recently, so I'll run you through that. I'll then share an overview of some of our collections that cover the theme of protest in various ways, before handing over to Natasha, who will give you some more specific examples from two of our publications. We may have a few minutes at the end for some questions, but if not, as I said, we'll both be in Leeds tomorrow, and you're also, of course, very welcome to contact us over email at any time. So AM. We are a publisher of unique primary source archives, learning tools and technology platforms. Our resources primarily focus on the humanities and social sciences, and our collections and platforms enrich the study, research and teaching of primary sources. We partner with universities, archives and libraries around the world to offer a holistic range of solutions for every primary source need, and enable the academic and research community to discover rich collections of historical content, to learn and teach the power of critical thinking, and to create their own archives using our innovative technologies. And as some of you might know, towards the end of last year, we had a bit of a rebrand. We're now no longer Adam Matthew, but we're AM. So over the years, we've had so many sort of iterations. We were beginning to forget our own name, Adam Matthew Digital, AMD, AM Digital. So we've kept it simple and we've decided to stick with AM. And this was an opportunity for us to give our website a bit of a facelift, which you can see here. And also we wanted to make sure that we're making it clear how much we value that relationship we have with our libraries and source archives, and how we're using this new and evolving technology to reimagine the way primary sources are created and used in the classroom. And as I touched on briefly, we've split our offerings into three pillars, so discover, learn and create, that we really hope will allow users to navigate to the area of AM's expertise that they're looking for. And I'll just talk you very briefly through each one. So Discover is really what we're traditionally known for, our sort of core digital archival collections, again, as I said, focusing on the humanities and social sciences, which I hope a lot of you will be familiar with. And you can just see here on this slide the sort of variety and broadness of the themes covered across our primary source collections. Learn is a slightly newer initiative for us, so we've worked with our parent company Sage to publish the first module of our AM Research Methods Foundations resource, which focuses on really helping students develop the primary source literary skills they need in the classroom and beyond. And students have the opportunity through this resource to critically evaluate a wide variety of primary sources and are aided by learning tools, case studies and practice sources. And we will be adding more specific modules to this Foundations module annually as well, which is really exciting. And then finally, Create is our Cortex platform, which allows users to showcase their own archival material, build those engaging collection sites using their own special collections and create their own digital exhibitions. So I shall loop us back to Discover. And as I mentioned, our resources cover a huge amount of content. So from exploring the lived experience of early modern England to European colonial expansion in Africa and 20th century films documenting the communist world. And we thought today that we would sort of to link with the theme of revolutionary thoughts and disrupting the status quo, we'd have a look at the theme of protests in our resources. And as I'm sure you can imagine, there's a huge amount of material relating to protest across the globe, and covering a really broad time frame. So it was quite a challenge just to pick out just a few examples. And it is also worth noting here that it's very important to us as a company that our resources reflect those diverse and wide-ranging voices. And that is, of course, often through the medium of protest through the ages. So on this slide that you can see here, I've listed some of the collections, just a handful really, that cover that theme in detail, and some primary source examples to illustrate this. I'll just talk through a couple of the collections that are referenced here, but I won't go into any great detail because of obviously in the interest of time. But of course, we'd be very happy to chat about any of these or other themes covered in our collections tomorrow or at a later date. So just a couple of these examples. Popular culture in Britain and America covers roughly the period 1950 to 1975, of course, a period of really dramatic change in society. And many of the themes of protest that we'll see throughout the examples today are illustrated in this collection, as campaign groups and organisations were challenging authority on subjects such as the Black Power movement, apartheid, civil rights, the AIDS crisis, women's liberation. And there's a real wealth of resources relating to those subjects in this collection. African American Communities is a multi-archive collection presenting aspects of the African American experience in North American cities through pamphlets, newspapers, periodicals, oral histories and more. And themes included here are desegregation and legal battles, campaigns in favour of integration and the public's response to this, civil rights activities and protests, specifically material relating to Atlanta's police department and the Chicago riots, and urban renewal and housing problems relating to race relations. And then thirdly, Gender Identity and Social Change contains 3 centuries of primary source material documenting the development of gender roles and relations from the traditional constructions of femininity and masculinity to the struggle for women's rights and the inevitable protest movements that came along as a result of that. And the resource contains documents relating to the suffragette movement, organisations such as the Men's League for Women's Suffrage, the National Women's Party, and arguments around abortion and the body. And I just wanted to end with a very brief mention of a new collection that we'll be publishing this autumn that we're very excited about, and that is the Amnesty International Archive. So we've worked with the International Institute for Social History in Amsterdam to digitise their holdings, and the resource will cover the rise of the global human rights movement during the second half of the 20th century through the International Secretariat records of Amnesty International. So we're really excited about seeing that finished collection later this year. So that's just a real bit of a brief insight into the theme of protest in some of our collections. As I said, there's really a wealth of material beyond those seen here, and hopefully we'll have the opportunity to chat about this tomorrow. And I'll now hand over to Natasha, who will look at some more specific examples in a couple of our collections. Thanks, Natasha.
Thanks, Catherine. So as mentioned, in line with the theme of disruption and the status quo, we thought we'd take a slightly closer look at 2 of our resources that are incredibly rich in material covering themes such as protest and disruption. The first is 1980s Culture and Society. This is one of our frontlist titles for 2023, and it's due to publish in the second half of this year. So we're really excited to be sharing with you just a few examples of the types of material that we will be publishing as part of this new project. This is a multi-archive collection that will compare grassroots media with official records that explore various political, social and welfare issues of the 1980s, such as the rise of conservatism, subcultures, nuclear threat and the AIDS crisis, just to name a few. We'll be drawing on materials from a range of institutions, from volunteer-led corporations to national archives, spanning not just the US and the UK, but also with additional content drawn from Australia and Canada. Covered in depth by the collection are the miners' strikes of the 1980s, which is the topic we'll focus on for today's session. It was, of course, a period of major industrial action within the British coal industry and a time of really fervent political protest and disruption, so one we thought was quite fitting for that conference theme. So we thought we'd highlight just a few documents as examples of the types of sources that will be included. There will be a very rich collection of visual material, which will offer a sense of the strength of public reaction to the proposed mine closures. This particular photograph is from the Daily Mirror archive and was taken by a Daily Mirror member of staff and shows just over 7,000 miners and supporters gathering not too far from where we will all be tomorrow. This was taken in the Old Market Square in Nottingham in April of 1984, with protesters demanding for police to be removed from the coal fields. Other sources in 1980s culture and society will enable users to explore the impact of the industrial action in all corners of society. The student community, for example, were prolific voices in the miners' debate. Here, the Aston Guild of Students advertised a miners' support group disco in their student union bar. Potentially quite a late night event. The time is advertised as starting from 7:45, but not actually finishing until the miners win. And material in the collection will also offer an insight into the response of British nationals abroad to the industrial action. This is a 1984 issue of the Journal of the National Union of Mine Workers. We partnered with the University of Warwick to digitise content from their Modern Records Centre, including this into this particular journal. It covers topics such as the Switch On at 6 campaign, but this issue also includes an article written by a former miner, previously from Rotherham, but now living in Canada, who has been kept up to date with protest developments through the journal, which is being sent to him by a Scottish friend. And he writes very powerfully and actually quite emotionally of his fear over the loss of livelihoods, and quotes that, "As a union man and a brother, the rage I feel cannot be put into words and can't be put onto paper." So this is a very top level look at the types of material we will be publishing. Hopefully it gives you kind of, a flavour into the different research possibilities through the various official publications, ephemera, and wider media coverage of the strikes that will be included in this new resource. The second collection that we wanted to touch on is Mass Observation Project. This is one of our published resources that provides a really interesting comparative view to the materials in 1980s culture and society. This collection provides digital access to the unique Mass Observation Life Writing Archive, which was relaunched by the University of Sussex in 1981, and it aims to capture the thoughts and opinions of people living through the final decades of the 20th century and into the advent of the 21st. Writing in response to directives or questionnaires, hundreds of mass observers from across Britain would offer their personal views on a really extraordinary range of topics, from the deeply personal to the political. And of course, the miners' strikes are no exception, as they feature in many of the observers' commentaries on issues of the day. Mass Observation sent a directive to volunteers in the summer of 1984, asking them to comment on the miners' strikes with a particular emphasis on any first-hand experiences that they had. We've just got a few examples of their responses here. So the first is from observer V1179, who was a public sector worker from London. He notes that there's a hostile attitude towards the strikes and unions more generally within his family. His feeling is that miners are paid sufficiently and they have good working conditions. And his mother also alleges that Scargill is probably paid by the KGB. So an interesting insight into the perceived threat of communism at the time as well. We can see that the word union at the bottom of the page has been highlighted in yellow. This is an in-text result picked up by handwritten text recognition technology, which is included in this resource. And this enables full text search of manuscript documents and is a really exciting way to yield wider search results, both within the text itself, as well as via the extensive metadata tagged to each document. Observer B884 takes a slightly more moderate view of the action. They feel it's impossible to see the end of the strikes, but acknowledge there may be factors at play not yet known to the general public. And there's a really interesting quote in this response that I've highlighted here, which reads, "The miners' strike is very complex in its origin. Perhaps historians of the future may see it as the beginning of a long period of social unrest brought about by the high levels of unemployment from which we are suffering, which will presumably rise as our ability to develop new technologies far outstrips our ability to handle its social consequences." A really interesting question that I think many of us today may still be asking ourselves 4 decades on. And finally, when running a site search for Margaret Thatcher to find answers that express opinions on government response, I came across Observer 1362's response, which presents a particularly strong stance against the administration's actions towards the miners. This observer is a young woman. She was born in the 1960s and is a student at the time of writing. She comments that she feels the strikes are a good thing, and as we can see at the top of this page here, she says that the heartless attitude of Margaret Thatcher and Ian McGregor is typical of the Tory government today. So this is a very small cross-section of responses. There's an enormous goldmine to be found in the Mass Observation Project collection for those interested in periods of protest such as this. But Catherine and I hope that this selection offers a small insight into the enormous variety of public opinion that can be explored through the Mass Observation directives, as well as the ways in which these different types of resources within the two collections can be compared and contrasted. So with an eye on time, thank you all very much for listening. I appreciate we might not have time for questions, but both Catherine and I will be in Leeds tomorrow for the second day. So please feel free to come and say hello, and we're more than happy to share details about these collections, our front list, or share ways on how we're harnessing technologies like HTR to enhance primary source scholarship. Alternatively, please feel free to reach out via email. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Catherine and Natasha, for a really interesting talk about what AM has to offer. I think as a child of the 80s, I feel frozen in terror that that is now archive material, but I say no more. Sadly, no time for questions, as we're really, really tight for time. But as you're both going to be there tomorrow, anyone who is coming along tomorrow, please do talk to all of our sponsors on the day and ask any questions that you've got. Andy posted there's going to be some nice space for people to sit and have a chat during the day. The next sessions coming up will be either in Parallel Room A or Parallel Room B right now. So please head to one of those depending on your preference. Find the links in the conference programme. And just a quick reminder, have a little look on Twitter and see if you can enter our haiku competition that is running today and tomorrow. Give it a go, sum up today and tomorrow in a haiku. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much to our silver sponsors for coming along and giving such great and interesting talks to us. And thank you for all of the attendees in this session. Thank you very much.